Hi everyone, I'm Bruno Martins from GSMA. I will be presenting today with Chris. We will be sharing some updates about the last things that we are doing on the lab and also what is we are doing on GSMA interoperability test platform, last updates and a bit of our roadmap as well. So starting here, the lab is getting 1 year old. So on October last year, where we launched that, many of you know that was on Asia Pacific event from GSMA. This year we'll be celebrating on the GSMA Tribe Asia Pacific. It's a free event, a lot of about mobile money API, and all the other topics that could be interesting for the community. So feel free to click the link and go to the registration page later. Also, just highlighting a couple of things about the GSMA Mobile Money API. In end of July, we released a GSMA Mobile Money comparison study. So that's we are comparing the Mobile Money API with several different APIs. So from Open Banking, ISO 8583, Multi-Loop API, ISO 2022, and so on. So you can see what's the differences, why there's a need of the Mobile Money API, and what's addressed for the operators. So that could be a quite relevant study, especially if you guys are looking on the PS by integration and the similarities that can having with Mobile Money API. So really good to you guys to see that link. It's also in the presentation later. We also launched the Mobile Money API community. So similar that you have for the Loop community. So it's an open space where all the members who is using Mobile Money API is collaborating there, discussing the new updates on the specs and the updates will be upcoming and the last releases. And last, as I comment, GSMA Tribe Asia Pacific, we will be holding an open session with several operators from Asia, discussing about the importance of open APIs and how that will help to build the ecosystem there. So keep an eye and don't lose that part. And then the merchant payments, we are working on merchant payments since beginning of this year. So we released an activity study on the QR code. So really interesting to see how companies are using all around the world. So we study several markets from Africa, Asia, Brazil, and so on, different specs and standards. And you can see a lot on business side and the technical side on this study. So that could be useful information for further Multi-Loop expansion as well. And at the moment, we're doing a QR code industry consultation together with several operators, trying to understand their roadmap and see how we can bring the next step on this subject and supporting the whole mobile money community, explaining to QR code and merchant payments and so on. So that's just a short update on the lab and what we've been working on the last things and what's coming up. So let's start focus on ITP, so Interoperability Test Platform. That's what we want to share today. So first thing, we're ready for the real world use. So the last 3 months, we spent adding some new features and continuous stability of the platform. So we implemented 5 new features on the platform. Chris will share more with you on developers' perspective and admin stuff. Without any breaking chains, so the same test cases and everything continues working as is. The platform grows, so we have 103 users registered on the platform today. So that's a 68% growth. Much of the users still not testing the system because they're not ready for that, but most of them from operators to service providers trying to understand more how mobile money API works, how that could be integrated with Multi-Loop, and how the ecosystem of interoperability will work. So really great to see people experimenting around and see the technologies and how it's working. And we are also developing on the last 3 months the scope of schema certification. So we're partnership with schema using Multi-Loop now, and they will use the platform to do a self-test platform where their GFSPs will be able to onboarding without much effort from the scheme. So that there will be a self-test environment there where the users will be able to register, doing the testing, go to compliance testing, and then getting their pass or fail in the end. So only having the schema just monitoring the environment without effort to touch there. So that's our goal for the next months and what we'll be building. hope we will be able to share that in the next convenient and even demonstrate these features ready in January. Hope so. So keep an eye on that. Moving just to recap for new users on MojoLoop, what is the interoperability test platform? So it's a facility where we are joined two technologies looking on mobile money. So the first one is GSMA Mobile Money API, which looks in for how service providers can connect to an operator, and the operator will be able to connect it to interoperable hubs like MojoLoop. So we're joining those two technologies in the same place, so you can see the end-to-end testing scenario. So operators, DFSP players, and service providers are able to test different use cases and different test cases, looking these many different APIs. That's the primary goal. So the platform, it's a testing facility, but also for people who want to experiment and see the technology before deciding to implement. It's a really good use case to see and get more information about that. Why we build and why we use that. So the first the 3 points, it's first enabling the financial inclusion. So we want to have an open space where anyone can go there and try out the platform, see the technology and how it works. Supporting the mobile money industry on these interoperability scenarios. So that's a key to mobile money to expand all around the world, and will facilitate the ecosystem expansion, and looking forward for financial inclusion. And why we are building that, connecting the real world interoperability. So we have the end-to-end system. So that's a really key thing for us, building independently from the core systems on interoperability and so on. So it's really for testing, separate from the core team. Having a plug and play use, so it's easy to configure. It does not require much knowledge. Even if you don't know about the APIs, we'll be able to use that. It's a free and open source, so people are able to get the whole code and reuse, deploy their own version, or contribute to improve new features, and it will be hosted for everyone to play around and see the technology there. So that's the key things that we're looking for this platform and what we want to achieve. I will pass now for Chris, who will continue talking about the features that we developed in these last 3 months and what we're coming from on the next roadmap of the platform. So Chris, to you.
Great. Thank you, Bruno. Hi, everyone. So yeah, as Bruno mentioned, we're about to release our first major update to the test platform. Since we first launched, I'm going to run you through some of the features that we're introducing. We've had 2 main features this quarter, and that's been kind of collaboration features to help teams work together, and on the other hand, debugging features to help developers understand exactly what's going wrong with their test executions. So the first of those features is a developer feature. The test platform's got quite a powerful request matching system that allows multiple tests to be run concurrently, but it does mean that requests sometimes seem to just disappear from the perspective of the developer. You're testing a component and then the component responds to a request, but it never appears in the dashboard. So the first new feature that we've added is a message log that shows all the messages on the platform, whether or not those messages actually match an expected test case. And then when those messages don't match a step in the current test session, the full request gets displayed in the platform along with any error messages. So you can really quickly pinpoint exactly why the matching failed. When a message does go wrong, the next big source of frustration is that maybe your request has hit the platform, but then it failed validation. Now, obviously, that's a good thing. The test fails if your request is wrong. But the frustrating thing is that we're talking about one step in potentially quite a complex, long sequence of steps. And repeating every step just to investigate that one failure can be quite annoying, especially when you've got stateful requests going on. So we've added a copy curl button that allows you to instantly execute just that troublesome step in a dedicated debugging environment. So you can then paste that into your terminal or into Postman and investigate to see exactly what's going wrong in that precise step. So hopefully find a resolution much faster. Next, yes, in the development environment, conditions are always changing. Test cases can be updated at any time. If you're using maybe a reverse proxy to test a local component with a hosted other component, you might have very dynamic component URLs. So we've improved the developer experience here to accommodate that turbulence. So you can edit your test session at any moment. You can change the component URL. You can add or remove test cases at any time, and the full execution history is preserved so that if you want to restore a test case at some later point, you're free to do that without losing any information. So that's a wrap up of the kind of main developer focused features. As I mentioned, we're also adding some important collaboration features in this increment. So we operate an instance of the test platform ourselves, but it's also available for anyone to operate for themselves. For example, a hub operator to help DFSPs on board more easily. The message log that I showed you earlier is kind of limited in scope in that it only shows you the messages from your currently executing sessions. And that's to prevent access to other people's data, obviously. What we've added in this version is an admin log that also shows all messages from across the whole platform, across all user sessions. And that should be really useful for platform operators to be able to quickly provide support when a message goes wrong. When a DFSP is onboarding, the operator can now see what's going on and provide support more easily. The collaboration features now, one of the big features is the ability for users to share their test sessions with one another within a user group. When you're working in a complex space like interoperability, different contributors often have a different understanding of different parts of the system. So we wanted to provide a way for these contributors to work together more easily. User groups are managed by a group administrator who can then configure who to allow into the group based on email filters. For example, it's possible to grant access to everyone at the @GSMA domain name, or you can grant access to one specific email address as well. And then within that group, every user can inspect each other's test sessions to see what's causing a failure, or simply to see what's going wrong with one of the use cases that they've set up. Group admins also have the ability to promote a user to test case creator. Obviously, anyone can create a test case using the YAML on the platform normally, but with the test case creator role, users will be able to share their test cases with the rest of the group immediately. And so that allows, again, much quicker and much easier collaboration on a particular set of tests. Yeah, finally, I mentioned that anyone's able to create test cases for their particular configuration, but we've always included a bunch of common test cases with the platform that are available the moment that you sign up. In the 1.1 release, we're including 2 new sets of test cases, which cover customer-initiated merchant payments and customer-initiated cash-out use cases. So that brings us up to a total of 25 built-in test cases on the platform, and they can be used to jump right in and start testing or implementations immediately, or they can also provide a useful starting point for if you're planning to write your own test cases. So yeah, that just about covers the new features that we've added in the last couple of months. We're working already on the next set of features right now. We'll be adding support for environment variables that will allow customizing the flow of test cases depending on the parameters that you set for different environments, obviously. We're working on adding security features to validate signatures and handle encrypted messages, which is something that's been missing so far, but is in demand. Bruno mentioned earlier that we're working on adding CMA certification, which will help the platform operators to not only onboard new DFSPs, but also to make sure that they remain compliant going forward after that point. And that's all, of course, on top of the new test case specifications that we'll be building into the platform with every iteration. Further down the line, we've had requests for a graphical way to create test cases or an interface to simplify selection of the most appropriate test cases. And we're looking forward to working on those features very soon as well. So that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what we've added and what we're planning to add next. Just to recap what Bruno said at the start of the session, the GSMA interoperability test platform is well operational. It's being used. We're introducing new features all of the time. I'd love to get everyone on board to take it for a spin at some point. And in the meantime, if anyone's got any questions for me or for Bruno, then by all means fire away.
Yes, thanks, Chris. Simon, back to you. And I think we have a short some time for questions if anyone has something as well.